Hey, aloha, everyone. This week we're going to talk about listening. It's chapter 8. It's pretty interesting. We talk about communication a lot, and we should consider how we speak, right? The most important thing. But actually, most of our communication is listening, as you'll learn in this chapter. So, this chapter I did something a little bit different. I tried to highlight or bold and put an asterisk by the key terms you might want to use in your discussion forum. Okay. So very quickly, I'll disappear so you can see stuff here. Listening defined. Okay. I'm not going to read through this, but basically, everyone thinks we know how to listen, but there's two concepts here we're talking about in this class. And one is hearing, one is listening. Hearing is just a physiological thing, right? It's what you hear as you listen to this video. Take a minute or a second, and what else do you hear besides my voice or this video? So once you hear something else, you're paying attention to that, now you're listening. Yeah. So you can read through there. But hearing is really the vibrations transmitted. We're listening. It's really in your brain, and it's something you're doing, right? So we'll talk about a little bit deeper in this chapter. Okay, two things here, listening defined. One is mindless listening, and we kind of know these words, mindless and mindful. So mindless, quick time out here. So mindless is maybe you're driving or you're sitting there and the TV's in the background, the radio's in the background, and you hear the commercials come on. You just don't listen to it, right? It's mindlessness listening. Or if there's white noise, a drip somewhere, you've gotten used to just mindlessly listening to it. So it's not necessarily bad. That's kind of what the message is here. It's a valuable strategy for many of the messages we receive. So if you're in a class and you're trying to study and you just hear all this conversation going on, sometimes mindless listening is useful, right? Of course, with those you care about, sometimes it's not. Mindful listening would be the opposite here, and we'll kind of get into this more, but it's basically paying attention, right, for important messages. You can't do this all of the time nowadays, and we'll get into that. Okay. So elements in this process, the listening process, of course, we talked about hearing. So the second one here, and this is one of the terms, is attending. And it kind of makes sense, but something we don't, it's one of those terms, right? An aha, where, so now that you hear it, you need to pay attention. You actually face it, attend to it. And that's kind of the first step in listening. What are we going to listen to? So you attend to it. The other steps here, understand. It's kind of like perception, right? Once you pay attention to it, you're attending, you understand, what is it that I'm hearing? Is it a drip? Is it from the faucet? Is it from the toilet? What is it? Or you hear cars outside, you hear screeching outside. Is it someone accelerating, burning out, or is it someone slamming on the brakes, right? Listening fidelity is how clear is it? Through a phone, maybe you have a long distance connection, or through an iPhone or something nowadays, and things are breaking up. It's really hard to understand when your fidelity is not very good. Of course, where you're face to face in person, maybe in a car talking to someone, the fidelity is very good, right? Respond and remember, those make sense. After you listen, how do you respond? Do you nod your head? Is it very lean? Remember that term from the other chapter. Are your messages lean, or you respond, you don't even nod, right? Or are they very rich? Are you giving feedback, prompting? And the hardest one is, what do you remember? So a year from now, what will you remember from this class? They do many studies, and they find you might remember a quarter of something you heard. So the remembering is a big part, right? When you're listening, talking to someone, how you doing? And then half an hour later, you ask them, how you doing? You're not remembering that you asked them. You're not remembering their name. What are the challenges of listening? There's a few of them on here, because these are ones that we don't often talk about. So I put these on the terms that you might want to write about. Okay, so quickly here, pseudo listening. This is just what it sounds like. It's fake listening, right? I act like I'm listening to you, but really I'm on my cell phone scrolling through something. Or maybe when a parent is lecturing a child and the child's not even looking anymore. They're kind of pretending to be listening, but they're not really listening. So we all do it. It could be that friend that talks too much, which is the next one, stage hogging. This is really important. As I've said before, a lot of people, we think we're really good communicators because we can talk. So a lot of the teachers are like this, right? I can talk for an hour. I'm a great communicator. But the problem is, when you're always talking, you're not listening, which is really the majority of communication. So if you're always talking and you're a stage hog, that's a major type of ineffective listening, right? If someone comes to me, if one of the students, and they tell they had a bad day, and I go, oh, you had a bad day. Well, let me tell you about my day. And I start going off about it. That's stage hogging. Okay. Selective listening, you're only listening for what you want. And again, these could be good or bad, pro or con. It's up to you. But for example, if you're really into the weather, when the news is playing, you might only listen for the weather. Everything else you're not paying attention to. Or if you drive to work every day, maybe when the KSSK is on, you're listening to, I don't know if Perry and Price are still around, but you might only pay attention when they're talking about the traffic, or when you hear a leaky come up. I'm listening now. Other times you might use selective listening, which may be ineffective. Is maybe you're getting a new job, you're looking for, and you're only listening for the salary, or you're only listening for the vacation. This could be detrimental to listening, right? So we got to an insulated listening. So insulated listening, we kind of know what that is, but that's the old la 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 la. I'm not listening. I'm not listening. What I can't see or what I can't hear doesn't exist. So insulated listening is we're really insulated from the world. Maybe like myself, maybe you're hard of hearing. So we listen to music or certain things. There isn't high fidelity. Let me disappear so we can see again. Defensive listening, also not an effective type of listening. That's when, you go in and maybe there's someone you don't get along with at whatever type of relationship. And as soon as you get in that conversation, you or the other person just looks like you're ready to have an argument, right? That's defensive listening. A lot of you talk about in your relationships, you get an argument, things like that happen. Defensive listening is when we get in there and we're really just ready to defend ourselves. We're not ready to be empathetic or listen to others. Okay. A couple more on here just for fun. Ambushing is I'm listening, just waiting to get you, right? I'm listening for you to make a mistake. I'm listening for you to admit something from the past, a phone number, whatever. I'm listening. Insensitive listening, that's pretty obvious there, I guess, is when people are talking to you and maybe they share something personal and it's just, oh, really? That doesn't bother me. And it's insensitive, right, to the other person. The challenges of listening, go very quickly through these. Why is it hard to listen? Number one is message overload. We can talk like 1 to 200 words per minute. We can listen. I think we can comprehend up to 500, 600 words per minute. Once you get on the internet or you're talking to your friends, look at all the messages around you, from the pop-up ads to what's on your phone, to what's on your desk, to what's on TV, the radio. It's a bit much, right? Preoccupation, you're doing something else. That's why we don't listen while we're doing something else. Rapid thought, again, your mind can comprehend 500 words per minute. So if I'm doing a really boring PowerPoint presentation with 80 words per minute, you're going to be way ahead of me. Effort. It depends, right? It depends what you want to learn or what you want to listen for. But sometimes we just don't put the effort into it, which is okay too. But that makes challenging difficult. And of course, external noise, right? If you got like cats playing in the background or all kinds of stuff going on, it's hard to focus and listen. Continued a few more. These are kind of fun. These are just for fun. Why don't we listen better? One is faulty assumptions. So what we assume about something, and it kind of goes to the next one, lack of apparent advantages. We assume something is not for me, doesn't apply to me. I won't get anything from it. I assume this person does not know what he's talking about for whatever reason due to attributions we talked about earlier, right? So that's one reason we don't listen well, because we make a lot of assumptions and there's nothing in it for me. The last two here, one is lack of training. Just you can actually learn and you can be trained to be a better listener. So if a lot of you, you're in other classes taking notes and such, you can learn to do that, right? You can learn to listen and take notes, paraphrase, ask questions. So this is something like communication. It can be trained. Okay. Last one here, just very quickly, hearing problems. That could be really hard with listening. As maybe you get older and you lose your hearing, it's hard to make out, it's hard to decode what people are saying. And then therefore, maybe you won't participate as much in conversations. How do you meet these challenges? Again, talk less. I'll try to do that, make this chapter go by quicker. Get rid of distractions. So put the phone down before you talk to whoever you're going to talk to. Don't judge prematurely. Quick side note, if you watch the Flipgrid videos, you folks are doing awesome. If you just look at this picture, you go, oh, who are these folks, right? And then once people start talking, you go, wow, this is really, really good. So you want to listen, okay? And look for key ideas. Look for main points, right? So as you talk, you want to also give out key ideas or key points, okay? How do you respond? One, you can prompting. So this is like, with your kids, a lot of you have kids, they come home, how was your day? What did you do? Was it fun? These are all prompts. And it's funny because this is actually listening, because you're getting people to talk, right? So prompting is very important. That's something you might want to talk about. Think about how you prompt others prompt you when you listen. What kind of conversations are really interesting when you're learning a lot? There's prompting, okay? These are obvious: questioning, sincere questions, right? Counterfeit questions, just not sincere, insincere questions, I guess. Questions I don't really care to know. I just have to ask it, right? To be polite. Paraphrasing, this is major. Learn this one, use this one, write this one, talk about this one. As you talk to people, paraphrase back factual information, personal information, their names, what they told you, who they are, what they say. So that really helps in listening, because it shows others you are listening if you can paraphrase, right? Summarize the simple ideas or simply what they're saying. A couple more: advising. This one is hard because you don't always want to give advice. However, sometimes when you advise, people are looking for advice, right? And it's definitely a very important listening response. So very quickly with these guidelines. Number one, is the advice needed or wanted? So a lot of times in relationships, maybe men tend to do this a lot. We'll give advice. We'll try to solve a problem. Before we do that, you might want to ask, right? Does someone want the advice? Is it needed or wanted? Because not everyone wants advice, right? Not all the time. Is advice given in the right sequence? So think about your doctor, right? Wait, take a nap first, then take the amoxicillin, and then drink more water, and then what order should it go in? What should I do first, right? That matters. What sequence? Is it coming from an expert, right? I can give you advice maybe on communication, but I would not give you advice on your diet. I would not give you advice on where to get a surgery for your shoulder, right? I'm not an expert on that. Am I a close and trusted person? As your teacher in some areas, maybe, but for advising, again, I might advise you in school, but I probably wouldn't advise you in your personal life. So think about in your position, who do you advise? Maybe your clients, maybe your children, and is it different, right? Is it offered in a sensitive manner? There's that last one there. Judging, this is kind of fun. Last one here, constructive criticism, right? It's very hard to give folks criticism and, to judge nowadays. It's almost impossible to be nice about it. Okay. So again, factors when choosing a listening response. So one is gender. It could be your gender, the gender of the person you're listening to. It does matter. Again, you'll see as you read through the chapter that actually the whole book, gender matters, right? The way men and women, and again, this is gender, male, female, not necessarily your parts you're born with. It does make a difference. The way we matter, the nonverbals, even how we face you, how we orient, right? The situation matters, right? The other person matters, your personal style. So all these things matter. So you can adapt, and just as much as you can become a competent speaker, you can become a competent listener. Okay. So that's it for this week. A little bit shorter. Enjoy the module. It's really fun. Enjoy the flip grids. We're really going to focus on listening this week. So start paying attention to how you listen. Okay. Thanks, folks. We'll see you hopefully in Zoom class. Okay. Bye.